I think the Paul Harvey God made a farmer notion, it was at least my experience growing up in the 1980s and early 90s. You know, I was a farmer, I was with farmers, and we definitely thought of ourselves in that way, and I think it wasn't inaccurate to portray it in those terms. Today, you know, agriculture is different, and even agriculture knows that it has to speak to the public on terms that the public can understand and educate the public about what it is that farmers do. There's been a lot of those efforts, Farm Bureau and everybody's Corn Growers Association. I mean, everybody's out there trying to do that sort of stuff. The harder thing to do is to try to explain to the public this, you know, 90-foot boom sprayer that's running out here, right? I mean, this corn production doesn't involve, you know, the cabless tractor and the dirty farmer with the overalls on just trying to eke out a living. It involves huge capital investments in technology that's just unbelievable. And that's kind of a harder sell, right? It's a harder story to tell. It's a pretty neat story, really, at the end of the day. It's a story about technological advance and risk mitigation and even conservation improvements and environmental improvements in many instances. But it involves chemical, and it involves data, and it involves, you know, crop management and all of those sorts of things that they're not as appealing as the, you know, the Charlotte's Web version of farming and those sorts of things. So it's a much more difficult story to tell. I don't know how convincing it is. It depends on the purpose for which you're telling it. If you're telling the story to justify governmental expenditures that prop farmers up, that give them money to weather the hard times, I don't think it's a story that plays that well, right? We need the money to weather the hard times. Look at the capital investments that we've made. We've got million-dollar pieces of equipment out here. Please give me some of your hard-earned tax dollars so that I don't go belly up in this industry. Well, you know, the utilities industry isn't going to try to tell their story to people to justify the expenditure. I mean, so you have to tell that story in a way that justify. If you're looking for social help, right, that's not a convincing story. But if you're looking for a justification for public investments in developing technology that can help us generate better environmental outcomes, well, then that story gets told in a different way, and it probably gets told to different people, really, at the end of the day. So I think that's kind of the way in which agriculture is changing. It's becoming, as it has always sort of steadily become over the years, a very sophisticated, a very data-driven, a very technology-based industry that's starting to behave as such. The problem I see with agriculture is I shouldn't call it a problem. One of the difficulties I think agriculture has is trying to do both things, right? Trying to be a very technologically advanced, environmentally sensitive industry, but also get the government support that was based upon the hayseed farmer in need notions of the 1930s all the way up until the 70s, right? And there's real questions as to whether or not they'll be able to do both things, right? Can you have Farm Aid and Monsanto at the end of the day? And where's the farmer sort of between those things? And it definitely is somewhere between those things.